So for those of you that may not know, my name is James, and obviously I present all of these videos, but most of them are written by our writer. That's why sometimes I have side comments or additional input, but Devin and I were talking the other day, and we realized that none of the content on this channel is particularly beginner friendly. All of the videos that we make operate under the presumption that our audience is well versed into the world of Percy Jackson. And while we love making videos like that and will continue to do so, we figured we needed something a bit more introductory for those who haven't gotten started just yet. So this one is going to be a beginner's guide to the world of Percy Jackson. Everything you need to know going in if you've never read any of the books before, and if you are a fan of the series, then this is the perfect video to send to that friend who hasn't read it yet, regardless of how much you pester them. We won't spoil too much of the plot of The Lightning Thief, we'll just be covering what to expect from this world. First, let's meet Sassmaster Percy. This kid is the reason why so many of us love this series, because he's an unshakably loyal friend who cares about his loved ones to a fault. Just about every book showcases Percy breaking the rules and going on a cross-country adventure to save someone he cares about for no other reason than it's the right thing to do. This is a world where the gods and monsters of Greek mythology are real, and the stories told about them are actual historical accounts rather than myths. But that means the gods are just as flawed and broken as the stories suggest. They have spent eons ignoring and neglecting demigods, but since monsters can pick up on a demigod's scent, most children are hunted as they grow up. Demigods don't receive any help or recognition from the gods, and it's not certain that a demigod's godly parent will claim them at all. Many half-bloods go completely ignored, and very few of them actually make it to their teen years. The ones who do usually do so because they are found by a protector. Protectors are satyrs that go into schools across the country looking for half-bloods, since, just like monsters, they can pick up on the scents of mythical creatures, so they can identify demigods even though they look just like you or me. Once a protector finds a half-blood, it's their job to get that demigod to Camp Half-Blood in Long Island, New York, which is a training ground run by ancient trainer of heroes, Chiron the Centaur. This camp is a haven for demigods who have nowhere else to go. It provides protection, training, and resources needed to adequately prepare demigods for life outside of camp as they grow up. In later books, Percy says that the theory is that monsters start to leave demigods alone as they get older since they're stronger and harder to fight. We don't see a ton of adult demigods across the series, but Chiron says that they try their best to lead normal lives once they grow out of camp. As heroes grow up, they can either spend their summers training with fellow half-bloods, or they can stay at camp year-round, though the year-round camp is much thinner than the summer camp. At camp, each god is given their own cabin where their children can stay, but if you know anything about Greek mythology, you'll know that there are far more than just the main 12 gods. In fact, Hades doesn't even get a cabin. There's a major theme that we see carried across the main 5 books, which is that the gods are not good parents, and they're not good leaders. Across the series, multiple demigods start to resent and even turn on the gods, and throughout the series, their motivations are completely understandable. Well, the gods are terrible to them. They leave them to be hunted down by monsters, and only reach out when they need something. So it's no wonder why so many half-bloods are angry and bitter at their parents. But this is what sets Percy aside. He agrees. Some of these traitors band together and seek to raise the Titans because they think rulership under the Titans would finally give them the recognition that they deserve. We wholeheartedly believe that if there was another way to usurp the gods without raising the Titans, then the enemies of Camp Half-Blood would have done so, because no one's ever really been on the side of either the gods or the Titans. They've just been against one or the other. Percy understands that the gods are awful, and has a lot of compassion for those who turn against Camp, and throughout his entire arc, he's never been on the side of the gods. He's just been against the Titans. So that's how so many demigods on the side of the Titans feel too. It's never been a question of who's better, it's just been about who's worse, and this is such a compelling emotional through line that it's paid off in a very satisfying way. The characters are all very well written, and the series knows when to take itself seriously and when to provide some humor or levity. And one thing that you need to know is that Percy Jackson is an absolute tornado to these gods. He's on their side, but he doesn't like them, and most of them want to vaporize him in turn. And it's because this smug preteen bastard is an absolute menace to all of them. The amount of times that this 12 to 16-year-old kid tells various gods to go eat sand, or in some cases literally draws his sword and fights them, is the cornerstone of the series. At his core, however, he sees that the system is broken and he uses his power to leverage internal change. But at the core of the series, there's also a love letter from a father to his child. These stories were not written with the intention of being published. They were a bedtime story that Rick Riordan came up to help his own son deal with his dyslexia and ADHD. He wrote them with the deliberate intention of making sure his son felt seen. I'll add in one of my James side tangents here. This is not Devin talking. But I have ADHD, and I don't have dyslexia, but I have dysgraphia, which is more or less my hands are dyslexic. When I write, it doesn't come out right a lot of the time. That's part of why these books meant so much to me as a kid, because I didn't even get diagnosed until way down the road when I was in high school, but I was reading these books in elementary school, and that was very important. So I get a little emotional talking about the love letter part from Rick, because it was to his son, but meant a lot to other people like myself. This is the through line that has pulled so many of us into this world, because Camp Half-Blood is a collection of children who have all had difficult lives and have never been seen. The mist is a mystical veil that hides the mythological world from mortal eyes, so regular humans quite literally can't see what's going on in the series. And it's a perfect metaphorical representation of what these kids go through on a daily basis. Nobody can see the mythological monsters that they're fighting, and this is a place where all of those kids can finally feel seen and accepted for who they are. And so many Percy Jackson fans found solace in being recognized. So many kids deal with issues revolving around absent parents, abusive step-parents, or other parental challenges that kids across the world grow up with. And so many of these situations can feel like they were written by somebody who understands. A lot of stories use abuse as a plot point to drive the narrative forward, and they often use shorthand to quickly demonstrate the power dynamic. So many stories skip straight to having a parental figure be physically violent or starve a child or make them sleep outside or in a closet in order to just make the abuse very clear very quickly. We're not saying that things like that don't happen. We're just saying that there's a much wider gradient of abusive behaviors that don't always get to that level. And since it doesn't get that bad, it's not talked about as much. Percy Jackson is much more nuanced and careful at depicting difficult home lives in a way that isn't always apparent. Percy's stepfather Gabe never hits him, never makes him sleep in a closet, or withholds food or anything that is commonly seen as abuse, but he's still abusive. It's just more difficult to articulate. There are so many children who are living in so many different versions of difficult home lives, but movies and TV tend to make it apparent that if they're fed every day and not being hit, then they're okay, and that's just not the case. There is a reason why these characters and these stories have endured for so long, and it's because it was all built on the back of a father's love and acceptance of his son. And he extended that very same warm embrace to so many kids across the world. We love the monster fighting, the slow burn romantic plot, and the emotionally complicated moral center of the Titan army, but the core of this universe is that your upbringing does not make you in any way less lovable or worthy of people who accept you. This is why we love this series, and why we love talking about this series, and for anyone who hasn't read these books, we highly encourage you to do so. Maybe this isn't your thing. Maybe you give it a shot, or you have given it a shot, and it's just not for you, and that's okay. No one is obligating anyone to read these books, but somewhere out there is a future fan who just hasn't been exposed to this universe yet. And those are the people that we're trying to find with this video. Post-recording, James here, 100% agree with everything Devin said. Obviously, it made me a little emotional. If you caught it, I cut a good chunk of that out. But on a personal level, because like I fully grew up with these books, I have reread them too many times to count. I have cosplayed in this space and interacted with other fans in this space, and obviously this channel is like a passion project thing. But on another level of that, I want to be a dad that does stuff like that for my kids. Like writing a whole book series for your kid. It wasn't just Rick. I mean, that's J.R.R. Tolkien with Lord of the Rings. He did the same thing of creating this world for his kid. And the fact that there are so many universes out there that were created out of that love and compassion for your kids, that gets me, guys. That's what gets me. That's the kind of love and compassion I want to have for my kids. So that is my final tangent. Like, y'all have a good one. Bye.